I recently posted on my YouTube community page that I was going to be publishing a series of found footage. In other words, videos that I shot but never edited or published. This is one of those videos. We're going to go back and look at how I am using my Vego Garden watering systems, aka irrigation systems. It is September 28th, and we're taking a look at my large Vego Garden bed. This is the 32-inch high, 6.5 by 3.5 that has the cover system over it, insect netting. And I actually just received the frost cover, greenhouse cover for this, which I need to get installed when it starts to get cold. This bed has potatoes in it. I planted these on or around August 11th. So these are a late season crop of potatoes. So actually having that greenhouse cover on it will help me because we might only have about 3 weeks left before we get a frost or so. So I'll be able to keep these covered a little longer so I can get a decent harvest out of them. But that is not why we are here. I am here because I'm showing you the growth of this bed that has been running on the Vego Garden watering system, which I said we were going to talk about, okay? This has been installed and running on my irrigation and keeping this bed watered well, even with the cover closed. And there's no particular reason why the potatoes are in this bed except that it was the space that I had at the time. However, having this cover closed did make it so that my squirrel buddies could not dig up my potatoes. So now we're going to fast forward. We're going to rewind back to July. I believe it was July 12th and 13th when I got this irrigation installed. So I am setting up my fourth Vego Garden irrigation system in my big 32-inch bed here in the back of my garden. I've already put all of the brackets in place, and I was happy to see that I can use them along with the existing Vego Garden cover. I chose to put them on the top. I could have put them down one lower, but eventually I'm going to top off this bed and bring the soil way up so it'll be closer to where the sprayers are. But this is so easy. After you get the brackets in place using the existing bolts, you take these and you pop them into place. It comes with two types. One of them, you will see, has a smaller hole here for the 1/4 inch tubing, and then they comes with one with the wider hole for the wider tubing, and that's going to be where your input goes. So I put this one here where my input is, which is already over here. Now this bed used to be on drip irrigation, so I already had this input going up here, and I'm going to put an adapter on there to make it attached to the Vego system so I don't have to change that out. This bed I'm using the large kit, so that means I have installed, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 brackets in place, okay? I've already put that one in place for my input. Now I'm just gonna go around and snap these into the brackets all the way around. And then I'll show you what the next step is. Since this bed is very close to my fence, I had to squeeze in behind the bed. Luckily, there's enough space for me to do that, to reach those screws and then climb in the bed to get the ones over there. I'm sure that was a sight for the neighbors. So those are all in place. Now the next step in the process is to connect them all with the included hose. Now before I received my large kit from Vego Garden, I had actually purchased 2 smaller kits because the large kit was out of stock and I was trying to get some irrigation done before vacation. So I still have some parts left over from that. You actually get quite a bit of parts in each kit, so you may have enough to do several beds, which was the case with me. So I have combined all of the parts that I had left from my smaller kits, and now the large kit. Ignore these, I was collecting them out of this bed. So what I'm going to do is I have a couple of pieces of hose that were already cut, so I'm just going to use those for starters to go between here. So what you want to do is basically measure from about there on each input to the same on this side and use the included cutter. Let me get that. It's really neat. So this thing right here cuts them very, very easily, okay? Let me get my tripod so I can show you this properly. All right, sorry about the music in the background, but I'm pretty close, so you should be able to hear me. We're going to start over here where it's easy, because I'm not going to film me climbing into this bed to get to the back. So all you do, put this in here, and you want to push all the way in until it locks into place. If you find that you need to remove it, just push that in and give it a good pull. And they lock in there pretty good, so you do have to apply a little bit of force, okay? But you want to make sure it's in all the way so there's no leaks. Then on this side, I'm just going to hold it out. Measure to about there where the color changes, because you want to make sure it goes in all the way. And use this. Check that to cut right there. Okay? Then you want to take this, push it in all the way. Now, there is a chance sometimes that I might have mismeasured that a little bit. I would say it's better to have it a little bit longer than shorter to prevent leaks, okay? So now I'm going to do that all the way around. I'll show you one more if I can. Let's angle this that way so that one's easy to see. Just got to get over there. This is a little bit awkward. Actually, let me undo this for a moment so I can slide in here in my giant hat. Push that in. Bring it out this way. Measure. Cut. Put it in place. Right. So, I'm going to finish that up and then I'll be back. And always keep those extra pieces because they might be useful for something else. I'll show you what I mean later. All right, the hose is in place all the way around, but you will notice that I did not put a hose there because you don't want to create a complete circle. It has to end somewhere. So I'm going to put these stoppers in the ends of those two. Next, we want to actually put on the emitters. The system comes with two types of emitters. With the small kit, you get, hold on. I just read it and forgot just that fast. Okay, with the small kit, you get 7 of these mist nozzles. With the large kit, you get 9. With the small kit, you get only 2 of the fountain sprinklers. With the large kit, you get 3. However, I'm going to tell you a secret. These are pretty universal. So if you find that you like these, you can get more. I picked up some similar ones at Menards, and I'll show you where those are in a bit. So in order to attach these, though, you have these neat little shutoff valves. And let me show you where these go. You're going to take one shutoff valve like this, and you're going to put it in each one of these all the way down until it snaps into place. Right, as mentioned, the large kit comes with 9 nozzle misters. I had one left from one of my other kits, so I actually have 10 that I can use. But what you do is, where you don't have those, you use these to reach the middle. And you do that with the included smaller hose. So I'm going to figure out where I want these, and then I'm going to get my smaller hose and put 2 in the middle here. Okay, in place is super easy. That's what I love about this kit. You just take it, and just like everything else, you push it into place until it locks in, and then you can bend it to point right at the root of your plants, or to mist, depending on what you're growing. When you want to shut it off just to that one, you turn that to this way would be on for flow, and to the side will be off, and you can adjust it little by little to adjust the flow of each nozzle. Connecting the 1/4 inch tubing is just as easy. You just put it in the hole, give it a little push and wiggle until it locks into place. Measure out where you want your emitter to be. Let's see, I'm going to say about here, because this sprayer will go here, that one will go there, so we can put an emitter right about here. Okay, then I'm going to get my cutter, which of course I moved it somewhere. Here we go. And we're going to carefully cut this right here. Now I'm going to connect my emitter just as easy. Take this, push the hose right on in there until it locks into place, and just stick that in the soil. So I'm going to do that with 1 or 2 more, and then we will move on to finishing up this bed. All right, it is actually the next day. I had to stop last night because it was getting late and we had to have dinner, and I was losing daylight. So I'm going to finish off this bed, and then we're going to talk about some more irrigation that I'm using from Vego Garden. So here, what you're going to need for this, this is actually the input: a shutoff valve, a short piece of tubing. We have a hose adapter, and I forgot the metal bar. Hold on. This metal bar. Okay, so what you want to do first, holding my netting out of the way, is bend this into a U shape, just like this. Put one end into the input, make sure it's all the way in firmly. Bend it like this so that it hangs down the side of the bed. Then you can take your shutoff valve, which is this one. That way is off, that way is on. Put that on the end. Got a little dirt on there. Let's get that off of there. Push that in firmly. And now, depending on where you are going with this, you would cut a piece of tubing to go all the way to your input or connect it to your hose. Since I already have this here, let me adjust the camera. You can see what I'm doing on this side. All right, hold this out of the way. Since I already have an input here from when I was using different irrigation, what I'm going to do is take this, put it in here, push firmly again. Then I'm going to measure and cut this. Let me get my cutter. So that it just about goes in there right, okay? I'm going to do it a tad long. Make sure I don't do it too short. Then I'm going to put my hose adapter on. Press firmly. And then we're going to just screw that on there. So this is being tied into my existing irrigation, which will work just fine. One other thing I might change here, let me show you. Because of the way this was set up before, I already have a shutoff on the hose there. So that's not necessary now because this bed has its own shutoff And the other beds that I've hooked up since then have their own shut off. So I could take that out and use it somewhere else, but I don't feel like doing that right now and I don't need it. So for now, it's going to stay there. It'll just stay on. So that is it. This bed is done. Now what I want to go do is actually turn on this zone and watch it work. All right. The other reason you want to do this, meaning turning it on, is to check for leaks. And where you would see leaks is where you push in the hoses or the emitters. If they're not pressed in all the way, you can see leaks. So I just tightened some of them. Now you can make adjustments. Like this one's off. Turn it all the way on. Turn them all the way on. And once there are plants in here, I will point them exactly where I want them to hit my plants. These are nice because they can be adjusted to either spray or drip depending on your pressure. Dripping is just fine. Everything will still get water. Let's take a closer look. So everything is adjustable. You can turn this to adjust from either a spray to a stream, back to a spray. You can turn these. And again, this is on a system with a lot of other beds. So by the time it reaches here, the pressure might not be all that great. But you can adjust your pressure on all of your beds. You know, you go around, you check them all so that everything gets some water pretty evenly. And once there are plants in here, if I have a plant over here, I can point this one, etc. So this is done. And this is such an easy system to use. So easy. So if you are looking for an easy to install irrigation system for your raised beds, definitely check this one out. And I am not going to close this video off yet, although I almost did, because I want to show you the other beds that I'm using. Also, with the watering system, even if you have existing irrigation, there are ways to tie it in. I tied it into the irrigation here with the green stalks. So when the patio gets watered every day, twice a day in the heat of this summer, this gets watered along with everything else. And there's also a cutoff here. This is just one of the many Vego Garden products that I have here in my yard. So let me show you actually the first bed that I installed the Vego irrigation system on. Please ignore the dead squash plants. I did not pull them out yet, but this was my escalator zucchini. I'll put a picture up here of when it was in its glory. And this was 2 acorn squash plants past their prime. I got a lot of harvest out of these, so no worries there. It is time for them to be done. But this bed, as you can see, it is not a Vego Garden bed. This is a bed that I got off of Amazon several years ago, but I was still able to use the Vego Garden system on this bed. You can use it on any beds that are made similarly, meaning with the screws like this at the top. There are several brands that are made that way. And as you can see, it worked great. You can't tell now because the main plants are dead. But look at the marigolds. Look at these new nasturtiums coming up. And we got some other flowers in there as well. So these things are awesome. And I was able to tie it into my full irrigation, which we're going to talk about at another time in a much longer video. Right now, I just want to show you the other places where this is running. This bed here, this is actually a Vego Garden Kids bed that I bought because of the size and where I wanted to put it. I believe it's 3.5 by 2.5. There's 2 Rebel Starfighter tomato plants in here, and you can see it has the Vego Garden watering system installed. So this was installed. I had 2 of the small kits that I purchased, and then they sent me the large kit that I used on this bed, but it was all so simple to install. Let me see if I can get around here. Yes, so on this bed here, we have this tube that is tied into my regular garden irrigation using just that irrigation tubing there. I put an adapter on the end to connect it to the Vego Garden tubing and shut off. So each kit comes with these shut-offs, so you can put it on the end so you can shut the water off individually to each bed. So that is working great here. And then if we go back over to this one, ooh, almost walked into a big spider web. They are just relentless right now. Like I explained in the process of putting it together, you see the same thing here. So here this comes from my irrigation kit, connected to the Vego Garden kit, and here's the shut off for this bed. Same thing, okay? Shut it off here, turn it back on here. And something else that I did, let's see, around this way. And as you can see, this is the time of year when everything in the garden starts looking beat up. So this one, I did the same thing. So there's a shut off here that came from their kit. It's tied all the way over there into a long irrigation hose that I have going behind these buckets, okay? And we're using the combination of things that came with the kit. They have the misters, and they have these connectors. I'll list out everything for you, but it's working great. So that means I have 1, 2, 3, 4 beds using this kit, okay? And around my garden, I have several different irrigation kits or regular irrigation all working together, and it's working great. So I'm going to do a long form video on that soon. Actually, now is a great time of year to think about what you want to do to improve your garden next year. And for me, this year was irrigation. I knew I was going to get that done. If I got nothing else done, I was going to get the irrigation done. And I met my goal, mostly. I still need to do the back fence, which will be a next year thing, which is there. Okay, so that will be done next year in some way. But the patio is done. The main garden is done. Most of the green stalks are done back there. These are done. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with that. So if you want more information on the Vego Garden Kit specifically, because that's what this video is about, look below, and I'm going to link you to everything that you need.